It's July 20th, 2020. I am trekking through some very warm weather where I parked. I have about a little over a mile's worth of walk. I am heading for the famed filming location for Friday the 13th, 3D, in lovely warm Santa Clarita, California. And I have passed a couple of other worn down film sets and such shooting locations for something I don't know. I can show some footage of that on my way back. I don't want to meander too long before getting to my destination. I'd like to get that one out of the way. So I'm going to continue on my panting, sweaty trek. It's incredibly hot out here. Very little tree coverage. Got out of my car, it was about 90 degrees. So I'm a wee bit soggy. And if I'm not too much mistaken, we see the infamous barn here through these trees, which I almost inadvertently walked right past. So I completely missed the entrance. No service, so I had a little trouble with the GPS. Let's go take a look around, see if I'm in the right spot, because if I'm not mistaken, I think I'm seeing a little bit of the remainder of the house foundations. Okay, definitely in the right place. And coming in backwards through the property, because as I learned, the entrance onto the lot from filming was actually not the entrance to the lot. That was created separately for some reason. And I'm standing in the middle of a little ravine, crosses through the dirt road entrance here, and directly in front of me there's a windmill that wasn't there in the film, and the foundations for the house. Barn off here to the side. Now, the way I understand it, this windmill here is the base of an old well. In its place in the film, this once stood like a utility shed that housed it. In front of that shed, you would have what would have been Crystal Lake. There's nothing here. Story goes that the film crew built what in essence turned out to be a very shallow pond to fill in for the lake. Imagine the water couldn't have been more than 2 or 3 feet deep. And it's amazing to think that right now I'm standing on what is the edge of what was temporarily standard as Crystal Lake. All right, over here, you'll see this is the remains of the dock where Jason's famous hockey mask makes its first cinematic appearance. Nothing left visually underneath all the leaves and debris of what would have been the original berms that were used for the shoreline. But it would have been between that little group of trees and the dock here, presumably where kids swam. Chris parked her canoe and pushed it out into the water. At the climax of the film, or I should say epilogue. a lot of these branches, dead logs and the like. Could have been amongst those that her canoe got tangled in when she hallucinated Jason and in a panic tried to paddle away. And I'm seeing over here what might be possibly some of the artificial berm that they constructed to help retain the water. Feels like asphalt. I understand the water drained out really quickly, pumped in probably from that well. Berm goes here. Looks like it arcs around a little bit on these rocks. Trying to tell where the last outer edge of it was. Sandy beaches. Strangely, I'm seen to be in a raised area, so I don't know if there was some of this sandy-like dirt trucked in after the fact or what, but this raised area drops off into a little ravine just on the other side of those logs. If I'm not mistaken, is the continuation of the ravine that the bridge passed over, that Chris in her van with her friends passed over the beginning of the film, and whose tires got stuck and they began sinking in the bridge when she ran out of gas. There are a lot of flies out here. They all say hello. Greetings to viewers. That ravine would continue on, loop around the back side of the barn, which we will visit over there shortly. I'll make my way through here. I understand there's somewhere under all this bits of concrete. Stuff just wears out really quickly. Going on almost 40 years since the movie was filmed here. The base of the dock where it would have connected to the shore. Straight on back, you would be looking at essentially the side of where the house was, and the front deck, which would have been on the other side of all this tree growth is now. Let's see, pipe sticking out from the ground there, where the water would have come out of the well, probably to fill the lake. I understand this location was used for other film shoots, TV shoots in the years after. Hopefully we don't get any wind today, because I understand that windmill makes a bit of noise, but it looks like it's been jammed up with some tree branches anyway. We don't want that thing spinning on us. The dock from where Jason stood, made his first kill in the hockey mask. The little harpoon. Poor Vera, lovely Vera's eyeball. In turn, she would have been standing right over here in this area in the water. She was hit and fallen in, which is so shallow compared to the ground around it. It's amazing to believe that this was actually ever filled with water. This tree here, metal pipe, some steel work, trees growing up around it, encompassing it. Let's take a look. I don't think this is anything related to the film necessarily. I don't recall there being anything in the film that took place on this side of the dock. I don't know what this is or what it was supposed to be. Ah, you missed that one, Adam. Just messing with you, buddy. Let's see here in the background. Back side of the fireplace from the house. Go take a look at the well. Okay, so here we are at the well. Imagine that propellers are spinning, engage in that, activate the pump, draw water out when it's needed. And it said in the film this well was enclosed by like a utility shed. And some more of that piping that sticks out, so maybe that wasn't connected to fill the lake after all. I don't know. Here we are with the back side of the dock. You can see it here in the shadow. I'll have to give the scene where Vera walks out onto the dock another viewing, as I don't recall this tree being there. Now, granted, it has been something in the neighborhood of 39 years, believe it or not, since all this filming was done. Hey, look, more pipe. 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 Classic Beavis and Butthead episode. And the fireplace. Excuse the roughness of this video here. This is my first attempt shooting this on my iPhone. Oh yeah, the wall of the house here would have gone up above the foundation to that really funky window Jason peeks through at the very end of the film during Chris's hallucination scene. Now, I understand that the house, its second story, was kind of a fake second story, even though you do get glimpses of it in the movie. However, if you look from the outside, that second story window isn't high enough for a grown man to stand in front of without his feet dangling in front of the door below. So that's always been a bit of confusion to me. Hello, pipe. But that would have been the door that Jason would have broken out of during Chris's hallucination. Behind this tree, I believe, is the step. Ooh, scoop from the door, which is around this tree here and take a look. I believe this group of rocks here is the base for that doorway. You know, it's amazing standing here now. There's no real context for scale for people watching it here. But this building is incredibly small. is absolutely amazing. Because the house itself, even just the first level, gave an appearance of being at least somewhat spacious. It is not. That door, if memory serves, would have led into the kitchen, which is here. The fireplace is there for the interior. The door into the kitchen would have been just to the side of that. So this would have been the kitchen. Where a good stoner buddy making his popcorn. Chili coming in. Also would have been, I suppose, presumably the door in which Shelley would have walked in after getting his throat slit. I make English words good. Just kind of ironic because, you know, this door's on the opposite side of the house from the barn in which he would have come from after being slit. Almost wish I'd come in here a different time of year. I think the film was shot in, January, February, March, somewhere in that neighborhood. A lot more greenery to enjoy. It's very dry, arid, desolate out here today. Would have maybe had something of a similar atmosphere, I think, if I'd come here at a different time of year. But yeah, coming out of the kitchen, around the fireplace, in the main room with the windows, where Rick would have ultimately been thrown into. Stairway, circular stairway somewhere in the middle. That corner there would have been the two entry doors, one from the porch and the other in the corner that was most commonly used. I believe there was another one room here in the corner that Chris opens and looks into when she first arrives. And we have a big hole in the ground with an old motorcycle. I want to say I saw this motorcycle in Adam the Woo's video, and it was parked on the other side of the lot in that direction, which in the film would have been the entrance to Higgins Haven. It's the entrance to the property where the bridge was. But once I make it over there, I'll find out. This gate was not used in the filming. Actually, I don't know. This here would have been the shed entrance to the cellar. And it looks like at least part of that cellar existed. It's covered in plywood now, which is all warped. Of course, I'm blanking on Chili's stoner boyfriend's name, who went down there and got himself perished by Jason. Very electrifying scene. I'm going to come over here and take a look underneath all this plywood. See what's left of the Higgins Haven cellar, which no cooperation from the plywood. Hello. Come out, come out. Anybody in there? I don't know that there's anything actually underneath there. Let me see if I can pull this up a little better. Okay, well, as plywood goes, it was plenty uncooperative. The only evidence I can see of a cavity is a little bit down in there, but who knows? Something hollow, but I'm guessing just because you have the steps down in the film, it's probably just a little recessed area there. Hey, my water, come back. Oh, I'm sure you guys know what that is right there. I'm gonna walk around and take a peek at. Okay, so what we have here is the base of the steps. Everybody went up the wooden steps, went up from here. All this around this rock step. It's kind of an interesting feature that doesn't really match the rest of the foundation. It's right here where Rick would have met his eye-popping demise, just after Chris steps out onto where the deck would have been here from the other doorway. Poor Rick, he just couldn't get his foot high enough in the air or kick anything solid to get her attention. Kick a little higher next time, Rick. So we'd be looking straight on down the deck around this funky stick structure. Perhaps the Blair Witch has been here. We'd be looking straight on down here past. On the other side of those leaves and trees and everything, of course, is the dock, what left of it. And so we have the recognizable little feature here, which is still visible from the film. Big step. No steps to walk into. Still wondering what this hole is all about. It's obviously not part of any kind of cellar structure, as the foundation is solid here, so there was no passing through underneath the house. Got another hole there, so I guess these just could be run-of-the-mill sinkholes. Because here, yonder's another. And a great fireplace. I heard tell that the house isn't here because, well, a set visitor such as like myself, not too long ago, I think it's in the last 10 years or so, 2011 I think, visited here and decided to light a fire, which, you know, of course there's embers and charred wood, but apparently managed to burn the whole place down. So thanks a lot for that, guy. I hope the law came down on you swiftly and harshly for ruining a piece of film history, which, if I have time today, I'll be visiting another site that, from the same film, also lost a fire, which is not, well, it's all too common with Friday the 13th films. Friday the 13th films seem to anger the fire gods. Yeah, this would be the fireplace where the 3D poker came from, where Shelley liked to stand in front of, impressing Vera with his apple tossing skills. I was a young boy watching Friday the 13th Part 3 for the first time, which was, for me, probably in the neighborhood of 1990, 91 or so. I never thought that almost 30 years later I'd be standing on the site, which is kind of awestruck, which is kind of weird. You know, you're standing here, you're making this video, you're shooting this footage, and part of you just wants to, like, put it down. Like, nope, just look around, explore the mysteries, like this nail. Hello, nail. Step on me. Yeah, we've got a fire-ravaged tree from that took down the house. Now, right on over here, like I see a post or something holding up the branch of that tree, but right over back in that corner, would have been our rockin' and rollin' outhouse. In the film, beneath that group of trees, been a little picnic area for Higgins Haven. Picnic benches and some chairs and such that were there in the film. The barn has seen its modifications over the years. The addition of windows in the front, the removal of the fence around it. We're going to head over there shortly and take a look, see what's what. A thought occurred to me on my way to the barn. I came back over here to the dock. After Jason kills Vera, drops his spear gun, he turns when he's walking back up the dock, turns his sight up to the house, looks up to the lit window. Our damn crazy teens are getting their freaky freak on. As he's walking, you see in the background a wall or close to like a peak of a roof of another building that would be back in there, which I can't see any evidence of. And it's the only time in the film I can recall ever seeing a glimpse of it. Don't know what that was. If it burned down in the original fire, got torn down sometime between shoots. I've gone back and rewatched those little bits and pieces trying to get a better look at it. I think that's the only scene in which you can actually get a glimpse. Proof that Friday the 13th fans come in all shapes and sizes, genders, ethnicities. Truly a diverse crowd. Hello, Little Lizard. What did you think of the film? Well, the lizard has declined to comment. Alright, so around the arch of this tree here, we would have had the site of the outhouse with its moon-shaped hole in the front door, a universal symbol for outhouses everywhere. And I think back to that scene where that guy, I cannot remember this guy's name, when he comes out of the outhouse after thinking Shelly's messing with him by rocking the walls, steps out and turns and sees Jason duck into the barn, as he said, when Chili shows up. Get the impression from that scene that the barn is further away on the other side of the lot. It happens a few times in this film, such as when Chris enters her old bedroom for the first time and is looking out the window, and from her perspective, you're seeing the barn door creak open and closed in the breeze, and yet her bedroom window, the same window Jason would have been staring out at her from in the end of the film, in her hallucination, would have been on the same wall as the fireplace, and looking out that window would have been the lake, not the barn, which is in the opposite direction. Oops. It looks like we had a fire pit here at one point. This is the area under the trees in front of the old foundation, where the picnic area would have been for the family. Other than this fire pit ring of stones, nothing else remains. Another little peculiar inconsistency from the film. After our lovely young couple go for their naughty swim after the biker incident, I believe, the next time we see them, they're wet and coming from the lake. However, where we ultimately see them is coming up this way alongside the barn, which on the other side of these trees is the ravine. There's the lake. There's the barn and ravine. They come strolling up alongside this wall, and ultimately, while Jason's watching them from one of these two side windows. They wander off this way. It's grassy at that time of year towards the picnic area. So they are coming from the lake, and yet when they leave, walking toward it. Oops. All right, and this, of course, is the ravine. The road to get to the lot is here. Off in that general direction will be the former site of the bridge, where Chris gets herself stuck in her van after running out of gas and tires sink through. She gets out, runs. Jason chases her down the ravine along through here, which isn't as easy to traverse as it used to be, apparently, whether they cleaned it out or we've had some heavy rains since. She comes out, up, continues on through here, where she enters the front of the barn for the final climax of the film. A hitching post. Somebody's horse got away. Damn you, Ed. Where'd you go? The barn here obviously has gone through some obvious renovations over the years, the decades that have since filming. I know we never got a real full look of the interior or much of the exterior from certain angles, but I have these two additions on the side and back that I don't remember any evidence of in the film. Take another look. We have a concrete pillar post, some structure that used to be here at some point, also not in the film. Okay, boys and girls, the pièce de résistance, the barn, which, ooh, creepy. Barn has seen happier days. Hey, Jason. Just here to visit your haunting ground. Don't recall that from the film either. I guess then these front windows are also newer construction, as you can see. All right. Going in. Doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. And here it is. Jason's barn in all its glory. Barn had a lot of set dressing done to it. Don't pull the rope. And watching footage of others who had been here previously, I was wondering how I might manage to get up on the loft, considering the old ladder was gone. I present the staircase. Dun dun dun. Do you know that rope really bothers me? What are you doing, rope? It's not normal for you to just hang through a freaking floor or ceiling, or inquiring minds want to know. So, this appears to would have been the window Jason was looking out at, or through, watching the young couple. Will they come in to be slaughtered? Oh, nope. Girlfriend's walking away. Ooh, looks like he's gonna be persistent. Is he gonna come in? Oh, no. Darn it. He's gone and walked away after her. Can't say I blame him. She kind of looked like a early Jennifer Aniston. Not my favorite Friday the 13th beauty by any means. Not even my favorite in this film, but a very lovely lady, nonetheless. Seeing everything from the inside. I don't recall any of these little alcoves, whatever you want to call them, being present in the film. I think these were later additions as well, for some other production that came later. More rope. And again with the rope. Why is everybody so damn rope happy in this barn? And the loft. Shall we venture? Gonna give myself a sip of water and then head up. Holy, oh. Speaking of holes, I swear that's not my water bottle. Mine is still in my hand, but no longer. Stairs feels somewhat sturdy enough to venture up. This is not how Friday the 13th fans choose to die. Exploring filming locations. Ooh. Thought it was warm outside. I think we have a rodent problem. Is there an exterminator in the house? And there's the other end of the mysterious rope. Tacked to the floor. Yeah, I don't want to touch it. It's surrounded by all these little itty bitty rodent pelts. Hey look, my glasses. Come back. Okay, so, as previously pointed out, the illustrious Adam Noou, when he was here about 3 years ago, the beam fox gets pinned to with the pitchfork through the neck. And what do we have here? The 2 holes in which it was driven in. She was right here, strapped to that post and hanging, feet dangling above the floor. Of course, the old ladder would have come up somewhere over here. Here, but I'm not 100%. Some changes have been made. Drop the freaking rope again. That's one hell of a nail. Ouch. Of course, we have the loft doors. This place have cable TV? Yes, here we are. Upside the barn, down below. The house, yonder the lake, the outhouse tree. That would have been the entrance to the property, which we'll go to next. And holy crap, the breeze is just blowing the doors into me. I must have been impaled by this screw. Why are you here, screw? There's the beam, or Rick would have hoisted. Chris and Hay, sweating his butt off, telling her that he's a worker, not a lover, all while expressing his wish that they set 3 hours a day aside to fulfill their needs. Hypocrite! Anybody think that does Rick remind anybody of Adam from Bonanza? Drove me nuts for years. I couldn't figure out why he looked so familiar. Shall we close the doors? There's another screw. This is a screwy barn if I've ever seen one. It is really awe-inspiring to be here. All the years growing up, seeing this movie several times. Imagine it might have been a little tough shooting here, especially in 3D. Such tight quarters. This area between these beams is 10 feet tops. Low roofs, angled. Even in the winter, I imagine it probably got a little bit warm in here. With this tin roof, no insulation at all. Ah, crap. I think we've got a leak. Head back down. How'd you get roped into this? Looks like the old latches, maybe even the entire door, has been replaced at some point. No, Chris wasn't this short. This is not the same mechanism. Cable. See any evidence of where the old board would have been, closer to shoulder height for a man, I guess. I'm locked in Jason's barn. This is all kinds of awesome. As much as you'd like these things to be preserved or look the same way they did when you first saw them 30, 40 years ago. It's just very cool to have had the chance to be here. When I recently learned the approximate area where this movie was filmed, and that it was only a little over an hour's drive from home, I decided to hunt it down. And here I am. Yay me! Okay. Exiting the barn. Okay, so outside the barn, we would have had our fenced-in area here. somewhere in this general direction would have been the location of the faked entrance bridge. The faux entrance, if we will. I want to say it was probably this way. There's no road or path left over anymore. Imagine the last time it was used. Probably the opening scene of Friday the 13th 4. All the emergency personnel, paramedics, and such drove out. Even though there is right there another road, which may or may not have been there at the time. I don't know where it leads. It might loop around to the other road that's on the other side of those trees and the other side of the ravine. But somewhere over here would be the few remnants of the bridge they built, which I would choose this, because they would have built a berm to go up to build a bridge on top of. And yay me for guessing successfully. Although, interestingly enough, there's the ravine, and it continues up in that direction. We've got a little branch off that looks like they just cut. Used the dirt to build this berm on both sides. And we have a charred remains of one of the supports for the bridge right there. But on this side, which we probably never actually saw this side on camera, no ravine. So I'm going to go over to the other side where it's more accessible. Okay, so here we are on the other side. Imagine somewhere in here would have been your Higgins Haven sign. There's that road I mentioned, which goes off into the distance. The actual ravine, or creek, or runoff, or gorge, whatever you choose to call this thing. The motorcycle frame that I saw at the remnants of the house presumably was the same one. I know it was over here somewhere 3 years ago. No sign of it now. So somebody decided to pick that thing up or drag it over to the foundation, throw it in the hole. Because reasons. And here we go. This is where the bridge would have been. The van traveled over, as well as Rick's V-dub. See some concrete post foundations here for that, as well as charred remnants of a beam. There's not a whole lot left. Probably rotted away, burned away really quickly. I don't think it was built to last. There's some more of the concrete foundation on this side. Well, after Chris would have jumped in her van, which probably would have been, right about behind that tree center there where she parked. She turned around and hauled ass this way, through, straight on up where she ran out of gas as soon as she got to the bridge. While she was sitting here trying to figure that out, we'd see Jason hobbling along with his bum leg past that tree that branches up, this split tree right here, hobbling along after her. He would have ran up along the bridge beside her, along here, to strangle her through the window, in which case she would have rolled up the window to trap his hands, dove out through the passenger door, straight on down the ravine. And then she would have run down that way, which leads back behind the barn. Jason close in pursuit. Yeah, definitely think I should have chose a better time of year to do this, but the way the world is right now, who the heck knows what things would have been like in 6 or 7 months when the weather and the atmosphere would have been closer to what it was in shooting time. Yeah. Just glad I got to come at least once and see. I think that about covers everything as far as this particular piece of property goes. Covered all the sites that I'm aware of. Time permitting today, there are 2 other locations from the film that are not too far away. I'm hoping to get some footage of those as well as making one other stop. So, it says about 90 degrees here. I've got about a mile or so trek in the sun to get back to my car, and then it'll be on the road again. So anyway, on my way out, I passed a former lake. I am on the opposite side of the tree here that you saw earlier. This is the back side of the lake with the continuation of the ravine here on the way out. I did find some more evidence of whatever asphalt or material the crew used to form the makeshift lake from the backside. I mean, this was almost like the size of 2 swimming pools, maybe. Not very big, definitely not very deep. There's almost no evidence left whatsoever. Oh no! Okay. Wow, I found an outhouse anyway. It has no moon door. Very disappointed. This is about 100, 150 or so feet away from Higgins Haven. And if I'm not mistaken, that might be the shack that is substituted as Jason's cabin at the opening of part 3, not the finale of part 2. I'm gonna find out. Okay, so this is definitely it. Since I last saw it. Yuck. It's definitely been taken over by furniture and flies. This was mostly, if not completely, vacant when I saw it on screen 3 years ago. Allegedly, that stupid one of many continuity breaking scenes was filmed from the beginning of the movie. Jason removes the machete from his shoulder and crawls away. It was filmed on this floor. Now, of course, we all know that didn't happen in the second film. The machete was still in Jason's shoulder when he left the cabin and attacked Janae. Okay, so I'm just gonna say lastly, in homage to those who recognize it, I'm pretty darn sure that is not a petunia. Okay, this one will be short and brief. I am where what used to be the Green Valley Market. It's currently standing at the site of the motorcycle gang in Shelley, and the running over of motorcycles. So we would have had encounter with the motorcycle gang, Shelley speeding off in the Volkswagen down the road there. Off to the corner distance there, lady just came out, the phone booth, actually still has it in existence. There's actually a lot of phone booths in this town. Strangely, I actually saw a pair of them in somebody's front yard, like they're collector's items around here. But not a whole lot of changes, except for the actual building themselves. I just left from inside, been completely redone. I think it's gone through several different ownerships and names since it was used in the film. This outdoor dining area was obviously added. This used to all be just dirt. Well, my phone battery is rather low. There's not a whole lot else to see here. This would not have been a pleasant drive if in the confines of the movie to go all the way back to Higgins Havens. It's about a 30-minute trip. Some of the windiest roads I have ever driven, but a beautiful lake in between that was not Crystal Lake. So I did stop off at the former location of the other little Crystal Lake market that premieres at the beginning of the film. However, that was also a building that burned down several years ago. There's not much left other than a foundation and a retaining wall that you can see in the film surrounding the area where all the laundry is set out to dry. There are a number of homes that are built around that foundation now, so I didn't really want to intrude. I took a couple of snapshots, which I can probably include here. And that's about it. So that concludes this. We're done.